Good morning, everyone. I am Jam Enriquez, and this morning I will be reporting about the nature of speaking. So, without further ado, let's proceed. The first question asked here is, what do the speakers do? First, speech production. This pertains to the process by which spoken words are selected to be produced. Of course, we cannot just jump into speaking without thinking what are the words to be spoken. We know the line, think before you click. And here in speaking, we must think before we speak. And under the speech production, there are three stages: the conceptualization, formulation, and articulation. So, conceptualization commonly happen or obviously happen in the mind of the speakers. The words are being conceptualized, the words are being chosen. What are the words to be spoken? What are the words to be used? What are the proper words to be used in the proper in specific setup that the speaker is? Something like that. So after the conceptualization, of course, there goes the formulation. So after conceptualizing, where am I? Whom am I speaking? Who are my audience? So after those things, after considering those things, of course, you will formulate, or the speakers will formulate, what are the words to be spoken? What are the words that should properly use in that setup? And then after that, of course, there goes the articulation. So after the conceptualization, the formulation, you will now articulate, or you will now speak the words that should be spoken. Next, the second thing that the speakers do is self-monitoring and repair. This happens concurrently with the stages of conceptualization, formulation, and articulation. So, eto yung mga pagkakataon na the speakers realize that they do mistakes. Di ba, hindi natin namamalayan minsan parang, oops, parang mali ako dun ah. And then we will say, rather, to correct the mistakes that we have said. And there goes the repair. So, self-monitoring, after you monitor yourself, after realizing that, I think that's not the proper word, or that's not the right grammar to be spoken, and then we will say, rather, so, to produce the repair or to do the repair, we will say rather, or other terms that could be applied as well. Third is automaticity. This pertains to allow speakers to focus on their attention and the aspects of the speaking task. So the speakers must know what is the focus, what is the idea, or what is the theme of the words to be spoken, or what is the theme of the whole speaking process. So that is automaticity. Next is the fluency. Under fluency, we have the speed, the pausing, the placement of pauses, and the length of run. And to assure the fluency, we have the speaking rules. First, don't study the grammar too much. We must know that the main purpose of communication, or of the speaking rather, is to communicate and not to impress. But of course, we must not forget that it is important for us speakers, English speakers, to know the basic rules of grammar. So that is the first rule. The second rule is learn and study phrases. Here, I realized personally that phrases are important because we cannot have sentences, paragraphs, and long statements without the phrases. So the construction of the sentence, how it should be written, how it should be spoken, how should it be constructed. These are important things to be um, considered. Next rule, reading and listening is not enough. Practice speaking what you hear. So it is clearly explained here. It is well said. Reading and listening is not enough. Truly, it is not enough. For us to be able to be fluent, we must practice always speaking, especially English language. If we want to be fluent in speaking English, we must always practice speaking English, not just read and listen. Next rule, study correct materials. Of course, for us to be able to be fluent in speaking right in speaking, we must study, of course, correct materials, because materials that are not correct will not benefit us. I mean, what are the things that we can gain from those incorrect or not correct materials, right? So we must study correct materials. And the fifth thing that the speakers should do is the managing talk. First, interaction, turn taking, and paralinguistics. In interaction, of course, speakers interact. That's why they speak. They want to interact with other people. Next, turn taking. We must give the other people the chance to speak as well. Not because we are the speakers, we must the one who will speak at all times. But we must also give others the chance to speak and express themselves as well. And third is paralinguistics, wherein this pertains to the study of optional vocal effects such as the tone of voice. Tone of voice, the pitches, the sound of the voice is very important because it expresses emotions. I'm, 'di ba kapag mataas si high pitch yung nagsasalita, isipin natin, ay galit siya. Pero kapag mahinahon yung pagsasalita niya or low yung voice niya, naiisip agad natin, mahinahon siya magsalita, ibig sabihin calm siya. So, paralinguistics is important as well. Now that we're done in the purpose of speaking, let us jump into the next topic, which is the purpose of speaking. This will be just a review because I know we have already tackled this in our previous courses and subjects in our high school days. So let us proceed. The first purpose of speaking is to inform. Of course, we speak because we want to say or we want to inform other people about what we know. Just like now, what I'm doing. I know some of the things I'm saying right now about my topic is some things that you do not know. So I'm speaking right in front of you now to inform you guys or to share what are the things or what are those things about this topic. Next purpose is to persuade. So this is the second general purpose people can have for speaking is to persuade. When we speak to persuade, we attempt to get listeners to embrace the point of view, or we want our listeners to embrace our point of view and have the same um, point of view as what we have. And the next uh, purpose of speaking is to entertain. Whereas informative and persuasive speech making is focused on the end of the speech process, while entertainment speaking is focused on the theme and occasion of the speech. Mahalaga pa rin kasi talaga itong pag-entertain eh. Now, we should not just focus on informing, persuading, kasi yung entertainment, mas madala siya yung nakapag-catch ng attention ng mga tao. So, while speaking, this is very important as well. So, that's all for the purpose of speaking. Let's now proceed to the next topic, the mechanics and process of speaking. What you can see on the screen is the organs of speech. So that's the picture. Later on, I will discuss it one by one. First, let us proceed to the respiratory or the breathing parts. We have the lungs, the trachea, the diaphragm, and the abdominal and rib muscles. So this is the picture. We can see here the lungs, the right lung and left lung, the trachea, the diaphragm, of course, and the abdominal and rib muscles. The abdominal and rib muscles can be found here. The muscles, we can, nakakapapo natin dito. So, that is the rib muscles. Next, Phonating or vocalizing parts. We have the larynx or the voice box, the vocal cords, and the laryngeal muscles. So, ito pong phonating parts or vocalizing parts, ito yung mga nandito. Hindi na po masyadong napakita dun sa picture. Wala akong nakitang specific na picture na merong gantong nitong tatlong to. Pero, dito sa picture na pinakita ko po kanina, nakita naman natin yung dito sa may part, ito may bandang lalamunan, yung kasamahan ng trachea. So, nandyan yung vocal cords. Ito yung nagbabibrate, yun yung vocal cords. Every time you speak, ito yung nagbabibrate dito. Yun po yung vocal cords. Okay? So, next is the resonating parts. We have the mouth. Of course, we know what the mouth is. The jaw, the uvula. Yung uvula po, yun po yung tonsil. Yung kapag ngumanga tayo, yung nakikita natin na parang drop ng tubig, yun po yung uvula, tonsil. Yung namumula kapag tayo may tonsillitis. Next, the nasal cavity. So, nasal cavity, dito po yan sa may bandang ilong natin, yung mga ginagamit pang produce ng sound dito sa may loob ng ilong natin. Next, the points of articulation. Where does the articulation happen? The upper lip, the upper teeth, yung ngipin po natin sa taas, the alveolar ridge. Yung alveolar ridge ay yung ngalangala, parang hindi naman ngalangala. Yung dito po sa may likod ng ngipin natin, sa taas, yung dulo nun, doon po, yun po yung alveolar ridge. And palate, the soft and hard palate, yun po yung dila natin. And the uvula. Next, what are the functions of the speech organs? First, let's proceed first to the respiratory parts. So, the lungs, this is considered the first organ necessary for speech. Pag humihinga tayo, syempre, di ba? Hindi man po tayo makapagsalita ng walang hangin kasi yung nilalabas natin na voice, may kasama yung hangin. So, we need air. Mahalaga po ang ating lungs. Next is the diaphragm. Muscles that separate ribs from the abdomen. And the trachea, the tube that connects the pharynx and larynx to the lungs. And is also called as the windpipe. Yun yung pinakita ko kanina sa picture na para sang tube, di ba? Na dito sa may lalamunan natin na nagdudugsong sa ating lungs. Yun po yung trachea. Next, the vocalizing parts. Vocal cord, second important speech organ. So, kung ang lungs ay the first organ necessary for speech, ang vocal cords naman po ang second important speech organ. Next, let us proceed to the resonating parts. Weak sounds coming from the vocal cords are altered, amplified, and made fuller and richer by the three cavities. What are those? The oral cavity, the nasal cavity, and the pharyngeal cavity. Oral cavity, dito po yun sa may ating mouth. Nasal cavity, dito naman yun sa may ating ilong. And the pharyngeal cavity, dito na yun sa ating pong lalamunan hanggang sa ating lungs. So, sila yung mga nagre-resonate. Yung mga sound na nanggagaling po sa ating vocal cords ay pinapalakas, ina-altered, at yun pong ating resonating parts ang mas nagpo-produce ng mas malakas na sounds para ito ay ma-articulate. And next, the articulatory parts. These are the articulators and the points of articulation happens here. And lastly, there are 4 stages of sound production. The respiration, phonation, or the production of vocal sounds. After respiration, after nating huminga, phonation, puproduce na tayo ng vocal sounds, and then resonation, and then articulation, na gagawin ng ating pong dila, ng ating ngipin, ng ating lip, para ma-deliver na yung sound in speaking. So, that's all for my report today. Thank you for listening.